money. And this is really, I want to talk about the truth, and I don't want to paint a pretty picture here and just a pretty picture. I want to show you both sides of it, because I think that's very important, and it's something that I discovered over the last 4 years. So this is just a stupid thing that I actually added in earlier this morning. I thought it would be quite funny. But this is the kind of mindset that a lot of people have when it comes to cryptocurrency. They're like, where's my Lamborghini? I thought if I put $1,000 into Bitcoin, I was going to get a Lamborghini. And they don't quite get that it takes a lot of skill, it takes a lot of strategies, it takes an actual set blueprint to go through to identify what a winning coin is really going to be. So let's look at some of the problems. The first one, again, it comes back to risk management and safety. People are mismanaging their coins. So mismanagement from they're not holding it in a secure wallet. They're sending it to the wrong address. They lose their two-factor authentication code. They send it to a different wallet. They transfer it from their paper wallet and they don't transfer the full amount, so they lose some of their cryptocurrency in the process. 23% of all Bitcoins are in the abyss. 23%. That is ridiculous, and I can guarantee that number is going to grow as people still continue to not understand how to manage their digital assets effectively. And this is so important, so powerful, because as I said, you can have so much wealth in the space. If you don't know how to manage it, there's people that have literally bought wasteland sites to try and recover their hard drive, which had over $1 million worth of Bitcoin on. So people have stored their Bitcoin in paper wallets in a fireproof safe in the basement, which flooded. So it's taken the measures, and we may laugh, but I'm talking about, this is worth about $30 billion. So we're not talking about pocket change for some people here, we're talking about life-changing amounts of money. Welcome guys, grab a seat. Because they don't know how to manage their assets. So that is a fundamental to being successful in the space. This is really sad because there are a lack of regulations right now in the space. There's a lot of ICOs that are developing. One of them last year was called Shitcoin. And I kid you not, on the white paper, it literally said this coin has no value, it has nothing. They raised $40,000 US. It's a scam. You go on deadcoins.com, you can see ones that have been hacked, ones that have been fraudulent activity, ones that were created and just failed because they were shit, for lack of a better word. So do beware that there's a lot of coins, and you have to understand how can you identify what a coin is that isn't a scam. And that's what we'll talk about this evening. Expensive investment decisions, and I don't want to name and shame anyone, but I'm sure people in this room or people know people that have invested around December, January time into Bitcoin when it was at its peak price. And that's okay, we make mistakes, but that's from having a lack of investment strategy set in place. So you know when to capitalize, you know what action to take to actually get the outcome that you want. And number 4 being not having the investment strategy plan set in place. And finally, people are missing out on huge opportunities because they're either too scared to enter the market because they don't know what to do and where to go and how to buy, how to sell, how to hold, or even more so what one to invest in. But also the people that are investing, they don't know what they're looking at. And people tell me, okay, I'm reading the white paper. Cool, what are you getting from the white paper? Oh, I don't know. Okay, so let's go back and talk about the basics. What do you actually need to look for in a white paper for it to be successful? So there are a few things to be aware of and avoid making these mistakes, because I hold my hand up. I've definitely made some of these mistakes over the last 4 years, and it's not fun. It costs a lot of money. So, 3 observations right now of what I'm seeing in the market. The first is day traders. There has been a huge movement to overnight day traders, and I call them overnight day traders because they've never traded a currency ever before in their life. and they are transitioning into the most volatile market we have ever seen before, and they're expecting to be successful, and then they wonder why they're losing a lot of money in the area. Not only that, you'll see a lot of people follow day traders on Twitter who are trading 1 minute, 15-minute blocks, and on that, the typical trader doesn't trade in that way. For the average person looking to get in, they may invest when a day trader tells them to, and then the day trader's already pulled out before they even execute that trade. So be aware of the hype. And I'm not saying day trading is a bad thing. Yes, I've definitely done day trading myself, and it can be extremely lucrative when you know what you're doing. But I would definitely advise you guys to think about, when you move into the space, have you got 5 years, have you got 10 years of trading experience? Because if you haven't, then the value investor strategy will always be the sure way to win. The second point is technical developments. So blockchain is a technical development. It's extremely complex. There's a revolution in that area. And there's a lot of complex knowledge around it, like hash functions, nodes, how do they operate, the mining structures. I don't know if anyone hasn't seen a Bitcoin miner before, but over here, there are ASIC miners, and there's a few examples there. So they crack algorithmic codes in order to create and, identify where the Bitcoin's being stored in the blocks. So it can be very technical, and that can be very overwhelming for the average person. So be aware that you need to have a good understanding, but you don't necessarily need to know the core fundamentals of the entire operation in order to invest successfully into the space. And the third and final, my favourite space, this is where I like to position myself as a value investor, someone who actually understands and educates themselves well on how to be successful in the space. Evening guys, grab a seat. And they're educated on the strategies, the blueprints, so they can roll this out over and over again to get the outcome that they want. So, what is blockchain? Does anyone in the room have a rough understanding of what blockchain is, and they feel excited enough to share it with the rest of the room? Anyone confident enough to have a quick stab at it? There's no wrong answer. There is. The teacher used to say there is definitely a wrong answer. But yeah, if anyone wants to have a quick thought on this? No? Cool. We will continue then. So, thanks for sharing, guys. The easiest way to explain this is, imagine an accountant. The accountant has his debit and credit ledger. That is something that is centralized to that specific accountancy. The difference here is this is decentralized in the way that everyone in the network has access to the ledger at any one point. And it can be seen by anyone, it can be added to by anyone in the network. And I'll go through in a lot more detail around decentralization on the next slide, because this is why it was really created in the first place. This is why it's so powerful, because it's given power back to the people. All transactions recorded are immutable, so it's literally a chain. That's why it's called blockchain. It's a chain of code, so you cannot possibly go back in and alter any information which has been uploaded onto the digital ledger. So that makes it so powerful from error, and so powerful from any misjudgment, which we see happening a lot in third parties around the world. Why it's so fantastic is it removes the need for any third party. So when you think about, okay, who are third parties, where are they? Real estate agents. Oh, so we don't need real estate agents anymore. Lawyers, legal contracts. What about Airbnb? What about Uber? And then you start to think, wow, any third party can be removed with the blockchain. That's when the light bulb goes off. That's when we're like, wow, actually this is really powerful, and this is actually why it's highly regarded with every government right now across the world and so many multi-billion-dollar organisations. That's why they're really rolling this out. And the last point there was it eliminates double spend. So cryptocurrencies, a version of, was created in the past. And the reason that it couldn't be rolled out, or it was never rolled out effectively, is because of the double spend issue. So if you go into Starbucks with $10 and you buy a coffee, that $10 goes into the till. You cannot double spend that because it's cash, it's in the till, unless you steal it, which I wouldn't advise. So the difference here with blockchain, it doesn't allow people to double spend digital currency, which was a huge issue in the past, because you can imagine you could send off 2 transactions at the same time. The difference now with the blockchain, it will only validate the real transaction and it will reject the other one. So I spoke about decentralization and why this is so important and why this is so powerful, and I've got 8 points which I'll quickly run through as to why it's so powerful. The first being peer-to-peer communication. When I talk about communication, communication doesn't necessarily just mean finance, it doesn't necessarily just mean money. Communication can also mean actual messenger. So Zera is a great example, one of the ICOs that have launched out of here. It's a social media platform where you can talk to people through a private messenger which no one owns. So WhatsApp is a centralized function. Facebook is a centralized function. All your messages go through the centralized function who have complete access to that. This completely eliminates the need for any centralized function, so your communications can be completely private, like you're having a conversation in person right now. There's no intermediary delays. How frustrating is it when PayPal holds your money, or when it's like, I don't know if anyone else has had this experience, but there's nowhere in the world where you do a transaction and you don't actually physically own that money. It goes through a third-party platform like PayPal, who decide, oh, okay, we don't like the transaction you've done. Actually, we're just going to sit on it now for 4 days until we've cleared it. And it can get quite frustrating. So it eliminates any delays on that part. And also when you send money, like a bank transaction, if I send money to my parents in the UK, we have to wait for that to clear. I don't use banks anymore. When I send money to my parents, I send Bitcoin. Instant settlements is what I was touching on then. Upfront identification and reputation. So Brent Berry is an ICO or a coin that's over in the US, and it's a real estate. And when I talk about coins tonight, I'm definitely not backing any of these coins in any way or promoting them. I'm just giving you examples to help you identify what I'm talking about here. But Brent Berry is for the landlord. So you can see everyone that has, if you're looking for a rental property, the landlord has full access into your history of apartments that you rented out previously and gets feedback. So you don't need a real estate agent who says, oh yeah, they were great, and then they end up squatting in your property because they can't afford the rent. It completely eliminates that because you've got the upfront identification and verification of someone's background and where they've been before. Feel free to grab a seat, guys, if you want. I don't know if you're going to be comfortable standing up, but go for your life. Trust is built inside the network. So we don't have to trust any third party. Third parties were created over 150 years ago as a trusted intermediary between 2 people that wanted to do some form of transaction. We don't need that anymore because the trust is built into the nodes in the network. Everyone that runs part of the network is contributing to the trust inside it. It's what's known as a trustless system. Oh, and I should have said at the start, if anyone does have any questions throughout, please feel free to ask. If it's something that I'll be covering later on, then I will get to it and I'll let you know, or I can also answer it for you at the end if I feel that it's better answered there. So I do want to get any engagement if you've got any questions throughout. Resilience against attack, and that is because there's no central point to it. So what I was talking about, the whole network runs the blockchain runs the whatever business that it is operating, it's not a central point. So this is why banks will spend billions on cybersecurity, because it's classed as a honeypot. It's one central point. When one central point is storing billions of dollars, they're going to get hacked. It's the same as cryptocurrency exchanges. It's a central point. Therefore, it's classed as a honeypot because bees go to the honeypot. But it's got a central point of failure to it. So if something goes wrong within that bank, or if there's an internet site and it goes down, that's one central point. Whereas with a blockchain, it cannot go down. You can't pull the plug on the blockchain because it's built on the internet. Even better than that, they're also now avoiding the risk of the internet and any challenges within that. So there's a satellite up in space that's now running the blockchain. You don't even need to run it on the internet anymore, which is really cool. And the final point is governance decisions are all created and run by the network itself. It's not created by the board that sits behind the business. It's created by everyone that runs a full node in the network, which takes away and gives power back again to the people that want to contribute and run part of the network. So, as I was talking about earlier, I was touching on third parties. Any third party intermediary company is going to be affected. Every single third party company, from recruitment businesses, everything out will be affected by the blockchain, because there's no longer a need for them when it can be run all through the blockchain. So industries that are being affected right now, I'll give you examples such as your Uber, your Airbnbs, your Facebooks, every third-party company, everyone that's centrally holding any data or centrally being part of the transaction, like a bank, they will not necessarily completely be eliminated, because it's going to be a slow transition across. Like anything, when we get new technology like the Apple iPhone, you get the early adopters, then it goes into growth, it goes into maturity. It's the typical product life cycle, and that's exactly what blockchain is. So here's, I think, eight examples of over $100 billion businesses, Apple being the first $1 trillion business. I think it was in the US, announced the other day. So as you can see, these are the leading companies in the world, and one of them, quite funnily enough, is JP Morgan. I don't know how much involvement you guys have had with cryptocurrency, but he spoke out against cryptocurrency last year in a negative manner, and they're one of the heaviest investors into blockchain technology, which Bitcoin's now built on top of. So that's quite interesting in itself. Very similar with Warren Buffett, who again spoke out against Bitcoin, which had an effect on the market, and he's now one of the heaviest investors through supply chain, and he also runs exclusive jewellery. And why that's listed on the blockchain is verification and validation that the items are real. So a lot of artwork is also now put on the blockchain to validate it's authentic. Wells Fargo, which is quite interesting. So Wells Fargo, Western Union, where blockchain Bitcoin is really powerful is in developing countries, because what was happening, or what is happening, people from developing countries want to create a better life for their families. So they come to first world, or what's classed as first world companies, and they work their arse off. They earn money, and then they want to send that back to their families back home. They get charged 18%, which frustrates the hell out of me, as you can tell, by companies like Western Union and Wells Fargo. With the ability now to run cryptocurrencies, you can send your money to your family back home for fractions of a cent. What's even more powerful, I don't know if you guys are aware of the M-Peso. used over in Kenya. In Kenya, and that's text money. So credit, phone credit. One day someone decided to start transferring that to make a payment, and M-Pesa was born. A third of Kenya have a Bitcoin wallet right now. So you can see how powerful this is in places like Venezuela as well, where the volatility of their currency is extortionate. People are looking to transfer into this, and when you, I don't know if anyone's ever looked at Bitcoin's coin market cap. Back in, I think it was 2013 off the top of my head, Bitcoin spiked up to $1,100 per Bitcoin, which obviously back then was 300 up to 1,100 in the space of no time at all. And that was to do with the Cypriot bailout. I don't know if you guys are aware of what happened over there, where the government started to take citizens' money out of their bank and taxing them. I think it's something like 20% of the money that they had in the bank, because the government made some wrong decisions. Andreas Antonopoulos is one of the front runners in Bitcoin in the world, and that's how he really got into it. And the funny thing is, he also got his mum to move her, pretty much her entire asset base into Bitcoin at the time, because he knew what was going to happen in the market. So you can see how it's being used by some of the biggest companies right now in the world and rolled out. And that's why we need to know about this. We need to understand how it's going to affect, maybe people in the room run their own businesses, how it's going to affect your business, how it's going to affect the company that you potentially work for right now. Because any smart company right now is investing into blockchain technology to understand at least how they can integrate it into their business. All right, so Internet 2.0. That is what blockchain is constantly referred to, and this will give you a brief idea as to why. So I don't know, not everyone here would have been around. I was definitely a young pup at the time when the internet first came out, and at the time there were it impacted over the last 20 years, 4 major dimensions. The first being internet-only companies were born at that time. So bricks and mortar business were the standard go. That's how everything was operated. And from there, internet-only companies were born and created, which completely changed behaviours of people. So I know back in the day, people were obviously paying their electricity and gas bills down at the local post office. That is now seen as quite strange because you pay it over an internet app. So that is how the internet completely revolutionised and changed behaviours. People don't go shopping anymore, they just go online and order things from ASOS or eBay, wherever you like to shop. So that's how the internet really impacted that. The government then moved on to adopting the internet over time. Were they sceptical when the internet first came out? Did they want to onboard the internet? No way! They absolutely did not want to onboard the internet because they didn't know what it was. It was unregulated at the time, and then they were very lax on the regulations, quite similar to the cryptocurrency space. And as it became more regulated and more understood, that's when the government really started to adopt it. Does anyone know a government in the world right now that isn't using the internet? I'd love to know if anyone has an idea on this. I don't think there is. I'd be surprised if there wasn't. When it comes to, don't jump there, industries were impacted hugely. So any bricks and mortar business that wasn't transitioning to have some sort of online presence was hugely impacted at the time. And finally, anyone that was a developer at the time of the internet inception, web development became a staple for their skills spot, if you want to call it that. 10 years from now, who thinks you can replace the word internet for blockchain? I'd say that makes complete sense to me. Again, this is all speculation still at this space. It's still understanding the technology behind it and how powerful it can be and where it's really used. Also understanding a lot of the inefficiencies in things like scalability, which has proven to be a huge problem in the space. But then, like any new technology, there's challenges, and there's new companies that are answering these challenges, like Holochain. Instead of, if you do a transaction in the network, you don't need every node in the network to validate the transaction. It can be validated between two people in the party. So there's ways that are being created, increasing megabyte block sizes, for example, as well. So there's answers to this, but it's definitely a big challenge that we're having right now. So, what are cryptocurrencies? Anyone want to have a quick stab at this? I promise I'll be nice. Any idea? Awesome. Oh, there we go.
They are digital currencies, basically, which you can transact in a encrypted message from any end of the world. So the first one is the Bitcoin, which started this concept of crypto. On putting on the blockchain is different thing, but there now every tokens, the other as called as tokens or currencies, any token you can transfer from one end to another. So that's called as a cryptocurrency.
Awesome, there we go. So I'll keep it nice and simple for people because I don't want to get too complicated. The easiest way, and thank you for sharing that, I appreciate you engaging there. The easiest way to think of this is it's digital money. So think about the basic evolution of money. We've gone from trading commodities to then having precious items like shells or metals, and then it transitioned into gold and silver bullion. And they were storing that in the bank and then having paper money. That's when we moved to a cash society. Then we integrated credit cards, which were launched in the 1950s. That took 50 years to be fully adopted. So what comes next? You build money on top of a platform called the internet and you create digital money. I don't know if it seems the basic next step, the basic evolution, and it's still trying to be understood by people, but that is it's the internet of money is the easiest way to explain what cryptocurrencies are. Now, Bitcoin is a staple because it was the first one that was created back in 2008, launched in 2009 in January. And then you have alternative coins, which is basically anything that is not a Bitcoin. That is the definition of an alternative coin. Why this is so powerful is it's built on top of the blockchain. Okay, it's like the internet and then having an app, like a phone app, on top of the internet. That's exactly what cryptocurrency is. It isn't blockchain. That is one of the fundamentals to a cryptocurrency. It's decentralized in the manner that we can exchange peer-to-peer. We don't need a bank to be operating in the middle for us to exchange value. So the internet was created as it's an exchange of information. Cryptocurrencies were created as an exchange of value. That is the difference between the internet and cryptocurrencies. It's inflationary. So what this means is, if you think about Bitcoin, there's 21 million Bitcoin that's been created in code that will ever go into circulation. You cannot print anymore. You cannot create anymore. It's code, it's the law. Every single cryptocurrency that's out there right now has a finite amount of coins. So if you think about the basic supply and demand laws, with our current monetary system, it's not paired. The US dollar isn't paired to anything since Nixon decided to unpair it in 1971. And that led to them being able to do something which is called quantitative easing. It means they can basically print money whenever they want. And if they have the ability to print money whenever they want, that devalues the currency because there's no cap on it. So you can just continue to print, and that's why the US is sadly in trillions. I get to look at the number now because it's got to a concerning amount. But that's why they are moving themselves into such a bad position, and that's why this is so powerful, because the more the demand in this space, the supply doesn't increase. If the supply can't increase and the demand goes up, what happens? The price naturally goes up. This is a long-term store of value for people, and Bitcoin is just one method or one token in there. There's over 1,600 now, which I think I've got on a later slide. It's a global currency. I can, as I said, send money to my parents right now with Bitcoin into the UK. I don't need to go through a bank. I don't need to go and exchange my money. How tedious. Does anyone else find it tedious in the room? When they want to go on a holiday, and okay, so I have to give you money from my money in order to exchange it for another currency, and if I don't spend it, well, then I have to change it back. Man, that's frustrating. Can't I just go over there and live off the currency that I can use anywhere in the world at any point in time and send to anyone with no barriers, no restrictions, for fractions? Instead of spending $40 to send money to my parents in the UK, I instead send a Bitcoin, and it costs me fractions of a cent to do. And it's an instantaneous transaction, not so much around December because of the scalability issue, but I can send money to my parents in the UK and it's instant. And it arrives in their wallet, and my dad's like, "Thank you, you're a great son." I'm like, "No worries." So, what does it take to be successful in this space? Has anyone got any answers to this? Because I'd love to know what people really think about when it comes to cryptocurrency and what it comes to being successful. Any idea? Have a stab. Here we go.
Well, since the wave is carrying everyone up, you just have to distinguish which ones are legitimate currencies and which ones are scams.
Yeah, that's definitely a piece of it. It's not what I had in mind. Anyone else?
Investment strategy.
That's another piece of the puzzle, but that is a piece of it. It's not the fundamental. Anyone else? So give one more.
Or start your own ICO.
Oh, that's definitely a way of doing it. So the truth is, to be successful in this space, it's your mindset. It will always come back to your mindset. Everything comes back to your mindset. If you have the right mindset, and I'm not talking about just understanding the psychology of being able to invest, I'm talking about the mindset of coming from a place of abundance before you look to start investing. Because if you come from a place of lack and you want money and all I want is money and I don't have any money and I'm going to try and invest and hopefully I can get some money, and I've heard this the get rich quick scheme, I can guarantee it's not going to go the way that you want. So it's understanding the mindset behind how to invest into this space powerfully, not only from an investment psychology point of view, but a human psychology point of view. And this is what a lot of people tend to get wrong in the space, and it's something people are missing out on. So I just want to touch on a couple of things here. Emotion versus strategy, so someone picked up on that. I'm going to miss the bus. Oh no, I'm going to miss out on this. It's going to the moon. I'm going to miss out. Oh, I need to invest now. They have no strategy set in place. So people that invested early when Bitcoin was $1,000 or less, they were still waiting for it to go up. They used their emotion. They let their emotion to dictate when they were going to transact, when they were going to exit the trade, instead of having a set strategy in place of how to really get the outcome that they want from their investment. Awareness versus ignorance is a huge one from so many points in the market. So awareness of, firstly, what's happening in the market, what's happening in the world of cryptocurrency, but what's happening outside. So what's happening in the banking world, what's happening when the global CEO of JP Morgan talks against cryptocurrency, when Warren Buffett does, when, what's the name of the page, Bitcoin obiturations. Has anyone seen that? So there's every time Bitcoin has died, it's being recorded on a website called Bitcoin obiturations. The last time I checked, it was in the hundreds. It wouldn't surprise me now if it's in the thousands. It's every time someone writes something negative about it. Why is this so positive? Why do I love when people talk negatively about cryptocurrency? Because I know that I'm about to position myself to make a trade. I know that I'm about to buy in because I don't do what everyone else does in the market and buy when everyone else is buying. That's when I sell. When everyone else is buying, I sell. When everyone else is selling, I'm buying. Because I don't buy up, I buy down. And I don't sell up, I sell down. Do you get it? Awesome. Education versus speculation. This is definitely my favourite one. How can you be successful in anything if you're not educated? If you don't understand the fundamental principles to be able to execute effectively, then you're speculating. And speculation is a sure way to lose money. If Jack down the pub told you that Bitcoin's going to go up this week and you listen to him, is that going to be an effective use of your finance? I'd say you're better off going to Crown Casino and putting all your money on red, literally. 48% is probably better than stabbing in the dark on ICOs that have proven to be 80% of them being a scam last year. So getting educated in this space is a mindset, because a lot of people don't want to invest the time, effort, energy and finances into getting educated. But I promise you now, spend that time, spend that money, and that will radically change your portfolio. I personally invested over 6 figures into my own mentors, and that was the shortcut to success for me. Not everyone will do it this way. People want to find out their own way and learn the hard way. I did that initially, and it cost me a lot of money, and it cost me a lot of time. If I had more time, would I have gone back and done it differently? Yes, I would have spent the 6 figures a lot earlier on my mentors. So, this is what we're all here for. The 3 pillars to master cryptocurrency. I don't want to take away from what I spoke about at the start, because the mindset really is so powerful, and really understanding that. But the 3 pillars, let's go through it. So the first, number 1, being safety. As I told you, it might bore some of you because you just want to know how to get the Lamborghinis as quickly as possible. But the truth is, if you don't understand how to manage your digital assets, there's no one to run to anymore. This isn't like a bank. You can't, oh, sorry, Mr. Banker, I lost my credit card. Can you send me out a new one in the post? No, there's no one to call. There's no hotline here. And if anyone does ever call you from Bitcoin, I promise you they're not from Bitcoin. I had someone contact me. Saying, I've had someone call from Bitcoin and they said it's $5,000 US for a Bitcoin. What do you think? And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's probably not a good thing. Don't invest. Please don't invest your money. Luckily, we didn't. But I've heard of a lot of things when it comes to safety, as I spoke about the paper wallet turning into paper mache. I've heard of people sending hundreds of thousands of dollars worth into the wrong wallets because they don't know how to secure their assets safely. When it comes to safety, this is paramount to your success in the space. If you don't take the time to understand this, you won't be successful in the space. And if you are, you won't be successful for long, I promise you. Online versus offline. Does anyone know what I'm talking about when I say this?
Yeah, using the online wallets and maybe wallets that are on an app or via a website compared to the hardware wallets that you can have in your home, like the ledgers and stuff like that.
You hit the nail on the head. Thank you, Richard. So, exactly as he explained, the simple way to explain this is anything that's connected to the internet at any point is classed as online. Anything that's not is offline. It's that simple. The big difference here is when it's connected online, you are susceptible to being hacked at any point. Now, because it is decentralized, the likelihood of someone trying to hack you isn't as high as if it was a bank, because you're not necessarily storing a lot of value. Why would they spend the time, effort and energy to try and hack you as an individual? However, that being said, you go to the shopping centre and connect to Wi-Fi and you've got your crypto stored on your wallet, or you leave your cryptocurrency stored on a crypto exchange, that's online. There's been over 36 cases of cryptocurrency exchanges being hacked or having fraudulent activity, and they have to be shut down. Your Bitcoin's gone. Bye. There's no one, again, I want to stress the point here, there's no one here to help you. There's no one here to recover you. There's no hotline. That is why risk management and understanding safety is, without doubt, the most important thing. What I used to do before I would buy any cryptocurrency is identify how can I store it safely. That's the first thing that I would look at. I wouldn't buy a coin if I didn't know how to store it effectively. I don't mean on an exchange for long term. So there's 4 ways that I would like to share with you guys this evening on how to store your cryptocurrency. The first being on an exchange. Exchanges are fantastic for storing your cryptocurrency for a minute. Any longer than that, then as I said, there's been enough cases now where there's been challenges with it. So please avoid the heartache of leaving your money on a cryptocurrency exchange for long term. This is only ideal if you're a trader or if you're doing a coin switch in a short time frame, then get your money off the exchange. The amount of people that I have contacting me on a daily basis asking me, I've lost my 2-factor authentication code. Does everyone know what that is? Does anyone not know what that is? Awesome. I'll show you later on. They have lost their 2-factor authentication code because they've lost their phone and they don't know how to access it again. And then they're sitting there thinking, shit, how can I get my money off the crypto exchange? So do take every step of precaution that you can take throughout to minimise your risk. Hello?
I thought you might be interested to hear one more story.
Please.
So I had my Ethereum on the exchange, and then the FBI put that they are fraudulent or something. I think it was a part of the attack against Russia. So they actually attacked the exchange and they confiscated everything. Later on, they returned the servers, but they only returned 55% of the coins. They confiscated 45% for themselves.
Fantastic. That's a good money-making scheme for them.
Yeah. So luckily, the exchange itself tried to compensate the people by issuing tokens, like debt tokens, until they are able to recover this amount. So I got 55% of the coins, plus the tokens were almost half price of the coins. So I lost 25% of it.
Yeah, so that's why I don't use exchanges, but that's just an example, and I want to repeat that. I don't believe a lady heard that example, and people listening live as well. So this gentleman here had his money stored on the exchange. The FBI, was it?
Yeah.
Believed that the exchange was involved in fraudulent activity, and they decided to confiscate people's cryptocurrency that was held on the exchange, and they've only returned 55% of that. Just another, I guess, thorn in the side when you do use a cryptocurrency exchange. Thank you for sharing that. So the second type is a software wallet, which is the next level of security, better than an exchange. When you hold your money on the exchange, you don't own it. The exchange owns it, okay? That's one thing that I want to be very clear on for you guys to understand. Software wallets are fantastic. I use one, I went up to Brisbane recently and I was hanging out with, I don't know if you've heard of a company called Travel by Bit. It's run by a guy called Caleb, and they were the first company to roll out cryptocurrency being accepted by Brisbane Airport. So I flew up there on Bitcoin, and I was hanging out with the team. I went for lunch on Bitcoin. They're rolling it out in merchant businesses. So I was using my software wallet, and I was going around and scanning QR codes to transfer my Bitcoin. I was going into coffee shops. I lived off of it for a full week. Has anyone heard of Agnes Waters? Yep. Have you seen what they're doing up there?
No.
So there's over 30 businesses now in Agnes Waters, from if you want to get collected from the airport in cars, if you want to go scuba diving, if you want to go and have your lunch, you can do it all now using NEM or Bitcoin, and I believe Litecoin and a few other coins as well. So I went up there and I was hanging out because I wanted to spend as many Bitcoins as I could. And it was a great experience to get up there. But I did a video of it. It's on my Facebook page as well. You see me and my girlfriend walking around having coffees and stuff, which is pretty cool. That's why software wallets are really cool. That's why they're powerful for day-to-day usage. Would I store all my Bitcoin on my software wallet? No, I wouldn't. Okay? Because again, that can be, or it's susceptible to being hacked. The wallets are great because when you log on, it gives you 12 words that you can use as your private key. Please do take those down and store them somewhere safe. If you lose your phone, then you need the 12 words to gain access again if you re-download the wallet on another phone. Without the 12 words, guess what? You're part of the statistic of 23%, and I don't want that for you guys. So take all the precautions that you can with that. The next type is paper storage. So before I talk about this, I just want to share this with you guys. Some of you in the room might be up to speed with this, but for those that aren't, your address, that's known as your public key. So I do a lot of YouTube videos, and I put my Bitcoin public key on the ID in the comments in the description, because some kind people send a Bitcoin for the value that I share with them. And with that, you can send that to anyone. So imagine a bank card. On the bank card, you've got your 16 digits along the front. You can give that to businesses so they can process a transaction. That's okay. The private key is like your PIN card, your 4 numbers to a PIN card. So if you gave someone your bank card with your PIN number, then they've got full access. And that is exactly what your private key is. Lose your private key, you lose access to your Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, whatever token you're holding now. So do be aware, your private key goes to no one, your public key goes to anyone. The big difference here between cryptocurrency and say Visa or MasterCard, there's what's known as a push-pull system. So right now, Visa, MasterCard, etc., when you go into a business, a cafe, you buy your coffee, they pull your fiat currency is classed as off of your card. So you're trusting that party that they're going to take the amount for the coffee and that's it. Whereas with cryptocurrency, with Bitcoin, it's a push system. So if I was to send someone money, I put in the amount that I'm sending, no one else. And that's why, again, it's just another feather, if you want to say, in my hat as to why it's powerful. So paper wallets are great for a method of long-term storage. I told you the horror story before about someone's paper wallet turning into paper mache when they stored it in a fireproof safe in their basement. Do be aware that these can be damaged. You can laminate them, you can do whatever you want. A lot of people actually get the code scribed into metal so you can't lose it, which is just another type of, I guess, another way of storing your private keys. You can print multiple of the same private key of the same wallet, but again, these can be stolen. People can break into your house, and that's probably what we're starting to see a bit more of now. Instead of people coming to look for your cash that you've got stored in your safe, they don't care about that. They're looking for a paper wallet because they know it's got a lot of Bitcoins on. So this has all your information on, as you can see. So anyone that has access to this can take your full funds. Another thing about the paper wallet is if you have, say you've got 100 Bitcoins stored on your paper wallet and you want to take one off, if you take one Bitcoin off, the other 99 disappear. So it's terrible design by that fault. But if you want to transfer your full amount off, then it's fantastic for that. But do be aware, again, it's paper. But if you do want to download one just to see what they look like, I put the thing at the bottom, bitcoinpaperwallet.com. It's quite fun. You have to scroll your mouse around the screen to generate your own private key paper wallet. So if anyone wants to have a bit of fun doing that free, which is great. But yeah, it's not something that I personally use. And the fourth is the hardware wallet. So Ledger Nano S, your Trezor. I'm in partnership with CoinStop, who are Australia's largest hardware wallet provider. I love those guys. Alex at the back of the room is from CoinStop. And I've got a code as well if you want to get a discount on any hardware wallets. This is great. As you can see on the front, there's a number 5. So you have your own PIN code which encrypts and locks the ledger. You can plug them into a device that has bugs. It will not affect it. They can be damaged, but you're given, when I first bought mine, there was 16 words. It's now gone up to 24 words as a way of a private key. So they give you 3 copies, I believe. Alex, tell me if I'm wrong there. 2 copies, so you can copy down the words, and it makes sure that you've got them in the right order by going through, and you have to double click to make sure that you put the right word in the right place. So it's idiot proof to that extent. But again, lose those pieces of paper and you lose this or you damage it, then it's gone. So that's why it's so important to protect this. And again, when it comes to storage, I've got a large amount of my bitcoins or cryptocurrencies stored in a vault, and then I have another one of these at home which has a good amount on as well, but that's something that I can get quick access to. The software that it's integrated in is fantastic, so you can use it. It's really user friendly. They cost, they're about $150 just under. As I said, I've got a code which I can give to you guys if you want to get me a discount on one of those.
How many coins do they store? A variety of coins, or?
They do, and they're always updating and developing. So they hold a lot of the main ones. They also hold what's classed as an ERC20 token. So any ICO that's built on top of the Ethereum platform, which, correct me someone if I'm wrong, but that's about 1,300 now, all running on Ethereum's ERC20 tokens. So you can send it into your Ethereum wallet, and then you use something called My Ether wallet, which is something you can access through here online. So it's a large amount of the tokens, but not all of the tokens.
Yeah,
and again, this is why I go through the process of, okay, how do I store the wallet before I buy it? And how do I store the token before I buy it? Because if I don't know how to store it, I can't store it on one of these, or I can't download a wallet, then there's challenges with that. Exactly, I don't buy it. And I've had experiences in the past. I bought IOTA very, very early on. I was quite lucky before the Mad Mayhem went on last year. And they were using something that they classed as revolutionary called a Tangle network. It's a different style of blockchain. And I had to download a software wallet on my laptop to store it because it wasn't held any other way. They went through updating that wallet, and how they kind of did it was delete all the old information, and then you had to reseed to re-find your tokens, and it was mayhem. It was absolute bedlam.
And scary.
And it wasn't effective, and it still isn't effective. It took me a month to send IOTA from my wallet into a different platform so I could exchange it. So there's challenges, there's inefficiencies in a lot of these things, and that's why you have to really understand it before you go forward.
Can you quickly talk about how to buy a coin that's not on those hard wallets?
How to buy one that's not on a hard wallet. So the wallets are only for storage, not for buying. So I'm going into buying and selling next. So I can touch on different ways of that. So, question for you guys. Right now, who is more confident that they understand how to engage and store digital assets? Are we getting through to everyone? We're winning here? We're looking good. That's awesome. That makes me very happy. So, pillar 2, when it comes to buying and selling. There's 2 main ways. There's more than 2, but I only really want to talk about 2 tonight because the others can be a bit more complex and I don't know the different levels of people in the room. I don't want to confuse anyone. So the first one we will talk about is a cryptocurrency exchange. So what I'll do right now, I will actually jump onto a cryptocurrency exchange. Again, I'm not advocating that you guys use HitBTC as an exchange. I'm just giving you an example of one. So when I sign in here, you can see that I put my information in there, and it's thinking about going through. Now it's getting out as a logo. Hopefully this works, because I'm not sure everyone in the room has necessarily seen what an exchange looks like. My password doesn't show for everyone to see. Will I store any money on exchanges? Alright, so now it's verified that I'm not a robot, that's a good thing. Just thinking about it. Bear with me, the internet can be slow. So this is where it comes up with an authentication code, which someone mentioned about earlier. This is when you download an app on your phone, and you can use Google Authenticator for this. It's an extra layer of security that was set in place so you can avoid being hacked. Basically, they also use your email, and if you ever do a transaction, they dig into that as well. Now, as you can see, this wonderful exchange here to the day-to-day person is bloody confusing. Even with my trading background, jumping on here and looking at this, I was like, wow, for the day-to-day person to jump on a cryptocurrency exchange and be able to transact, be able to send their fiat currency into it, this is bloody confusing. It's really, it can be quite challenging to use. Not only that, you have restrictions from particularly banks in Australia, where people sending money into cryptocurrency exchanges or removing money from cryptocurrency exchanges, it was being held up, or they were getting people to actually shut their bank accounts down. I think it was 30 or 60 days. They gave people the time frame to shut down their bank accounts. So as you can see, there are challenges with cryptocurrency exchanges. Like I was talking about earlier, it's not a form of long-term storage that you would want to use. They're great if you want to do a quick transaction on there, or if you're a day trader. So they do have their purpose and use for that. They're great because they do list a number of coins, but do be aware, like I always spoke about earlier, they're a honeypot. And honeypots are susceptible to be hacking. Over 3 dozen cases of cryptocurrency exchanges being hacked, but you've got your challenges through using exchanges. So do be aware that whilst they can be great, as you can see, I don't actually store any of my crypto wealth on the exchange. So do be aware that they are fantastic for certain things, but for the day-to-day person, they can also be quite confusing and have their problems and challenges around it. So, has anyone had experience using a cryptocurrency exchange in here? Has anyone not been on an exchange before? Awesome. Great. So, the second type is peer-to-peer. That is not a Bitcoin, okay? People were selling Bitcoins on eBay. Bitcoins, actual physical asset coins. That is not a Bitcoin. If anyone ever tries to sell you a Bitcoin like that, tell them where to go, because like anything, when there's new technology, there's new development, people don't necessarily fully understand it, and people can be taken advantage of, they really can. So do be aware when it comes to things like this, you've got to understand and invest in your education to really minimise your risk of people taking advantage of you, or you making mistakes as well. So when I talk about peer-to-peer, I talk about why Bitcoin was created. It was created on the back of the GFC and the global financial crisis, and that was because of the banks really taken advantage of the people. And Bitcoin was created so we can move away from a centralized function governing how we operate and what they do and when they do it and how they do it and if they want to increase interest rates or if they want to change the inflation rates. It was a move away from that, and the movement was to a peer-to-peer society. And like anything, you get your opportunists who see, okay, I can make money in this, so they create a cryptocurrency exchange as a way of, again, replicating a bank, effectively. So what a true peer-to-peer system is, I don't know if anyone has seen, I'll jump on localbitcoins.com. So has everyone heard of localbitcoins.com? Yeah, awesome. Has anyone not heard of it? Awesome. Great. So localbitcoins.com, as you can see, it's pretty prominent now. When I was on it back in the day, it was operating across a few cities, and now it's 248 cities. When I first got on this, because I didn't want to use an exchange because Mt. Gox just stole 750,000 bitcoins, I looked to other ways of doing it, and I came across localbitcoins.com, and in the beginning there was no one selling for cash, so in person. So I had to go on, and I was using Westpac because I didn't need to use any ID to send money to people, and I was literally putting tens of thousands of dollars into a Westpac ATM and sending my money to someone in the hope that some nice honest person on the end of localbitcoins.com was going to send me some Bitcoin in return. And it worked out because I took the time to look at things like this, the rating. How many times have they exchanged with people? Okay, it's 100 plus. And then what's that percentage? How do they want you to be dealt with? What's the interaction there? So there are things that you want to look at to really minimise your risk. But what I did do was I started to build up a relationship with the person that I was buying from. I did that for a few reasons. Firstly, because I wanted more than $500 at a time. And secondly, because I wanted to trust them. If I'm sending someone tens of thousands of dollars worth of Australian dollars, I want to know that they're going to send me some Bitcoin in return, right? So I took the necessary measures to understand how can I avoid that. Now I have a network of cash buyers and cash sellers. So I no longer have to use an exchange. I no longer use localbitcoins.com. I've got someone that I've built a network up with that no longer has any limit for how much I want to buy at any one point, and that's what I give access to all my clients as well, when they want to buy, when they want to sell. Do be aware that there are percent margins with exchanges. In some developing countries, the exchanges they have charge over 100% on top of the cost of what a Bitcoin is. So if it's 10,000, they'll be charging 20. So you can see how there's a lot of challenges in certain countries around the world. But local Bitcoins, if you do want to operate, it is, yes. And it's something to be aware of, how you operate, how they want to be dealt with. Please, everyone in the room, promise me, if you ever do use this platform, do a test first. So whatever that minimum is, do the minimum. Don't go in and go gun-ho and hope that the market's going to go up and drop 100 grand with someone, and then you find out that they robbed you with a gun or something when you turn up, because this does happen.
Yep.